I told you all that this was going to happen. I did a video several times, 2 videos, several months ago, where I said YouTube is the new streets and YouTube was going to start cleaning up their own streets. Now, if you don't know, Fresh and Fit got demonetized, which for them, it's really unfortunate. I like Fresh and Fit. That's a large income stream because their channel was so large and they were in like the top 10 of the most super chatted channels. I would say on average, they were clearing 6 figures a month between AdSense and super chatting. And that's a large income stream to lose. But like I said, when it comes to the negativity as far as talking about people, YouTube was going to start cleaning these streets up. The reason being, like we know with the Tasha K and Cardi B thing, that set precedence, right, for a certain style of YouTube videos, okay? And now we also have going on the whole Spencer Cornelia lawsuit with him calling people scammers. And there's one guy who, I guess he feels wronged by it and he's suing. And Spencer has even admitted that it is hurting him financially. So if he wins that lawsuit, again, that's a second precedence. And like I've said before, when it comes to talking negatively about people, making videos about people negatively, back and forth, that YouTube was going to start to put a stop to it. Now, how do you put a stop to it? You cut the money off. Because here's the thing, a lot of people are under the assumption that, people are doing these videos and it's helping the community or, that in some cases it's funny, right? But what's really happening is you have complaining advertisers, right? The people that consume these videos like this, they're broke, okay? These advertisers don't want to have their ads displayed over videos that a lot of broke people are watching. That's the bottom line. And like I said, it spills into the streets, either whether that's physical violence in the street or whether that's people wind up in courtrooms, okay? And YouTube they're trying to put a stop to it. So that's why they're starting to have these silent policies. They're going to start with the people at the top. Anybody that has these feuds going on back and forth, where they're talking negativity about each other, threatening each other, they're just going to try to cut the money. Now, they may not kick them off the platform, but they're going to start eating away at the money to teach you a lesson. So that's the word on the street about Fresh and Fit, is that, some of the antics that they had talking to and about other creators back and forth is what led to this. Now, I know Fresh and Fit is very controversial. I know I'm going to have people in the comments saying that that's what they get and whatever. Me personally, I don't have no ill will against them. I like what they do. Anybody that can take nothing and turn it into something, I salute you 100%. Especially since I have a different understanding of YouTube, because I help a lot of people be, transitioning to being creators. I understand how this game works, okay? This is a psychological game. If you can get people to react emotionally, you will become a multi-millionaire on YouTube with ease. Like, for example, with Fresh and Fit or with Andrew Tate, right? Andrew Tate mastered making people react to his content emotionally, which made him more money. The same thing with Fresh and Fit. They probably, and it always happens this way. You accidentally have a viral moment, and then, you go to sleep and your video may have 5,000 views, but then you wake up and it got like 10 million. And then you look at, the amount of money you're supposed to make, and you're making an extra like 25, 30, 40 grand. And it's like, oh shit. Well, guess what? Let me do it again and again and again and again. I put out one video, made this much. Well, what happens if I put out 20 videos of the same exact content? How much money will I make? And essentially, that's what happened with them. That's why a lot of their content, you see them kicking out girls and stuff like that, because it works. It makes money. And YouTube is part to blame too, right? That's why it's called the partner program, because YouTube is making money off of it too. And that's why I never get emotionally attached to content creators, because I understand the game. The name of the game is getting the viewer to react emotionally, right? Like Mr. Beast is very good at this. That's why Mr. Beast is one of the biggest and largest content creators. He makes something like around $1 million a day. His platform is worth $1 billion, right? How does he get people to react emotionally? He goes around, he gives away money, okay? Things like that. That makes people react emotionally. It makes people think that that savior is out there and it's going to take all of their problems away. So guess what? He gets a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, and he makes a lot of money. That's how this thing works. You know, in terms of Andrew Tate could say things that people consider borderline misogynistic. Guess what happens? You're gonna have this person that's gonna say, hey, look at this fool, share it with this person, then they're gonna share it in their group text, then they're gonna share it here and there and there and there. And next thing you know, the video has 1 million views and he's made a lot of money. Okay? So that's how the game works. And again, I don't fault them for that because I understand how the game works. You know, I put out videos that I know are going to manipulate people's emotions all the time. And, you know, it just makes us more money. You know, that the average consumer is trapped in that. They don't understand how the game works, right? And why content creators do what they do. But it is what it is. But like I've said before, sorry to get off track, the whole thing with beefing online. If you ever see me involved in an exchange back and forth between myself and somebody else on YouTube, trust me, it's something that's engineered. Okay, it's going to be an engineered beef. We're gonna shoot a kite to YouTube to let them know this isn't real. It may be real to you all, but it's not going to be real for us or YouTube. And we're going to use it to sell tickets to a boxing match or something and pull a Jake Paul and make 30, 40, 50 million in one night. Okay, that's the only way I would do it. That's the only way that it makes sense to me. But just having beef and talking about people negatively, you know, it's something that's short-lived. It doesn't last long. And, you know, I really hope that they get their channel back, because what I see coming next is YouTube is going to come out with a whole new list of rules where you're not going to be allowed to say anything negative per se. Even like, you know, it's going to be kind of short of criticism, right, about other people, or they're going to take they're going to take the money. And like I said, I've done several videos about this just to let other creators know, like, stay away from it, okay? And like I said, unless you're going to engineer it for it to lead to a big pile of money, it doesn't make sense, because YouTube is just going to snatch your channel. It's nothing to them, you know. They're making trillions of dollars anyway, right? So they'll just shift those advertisers to a different platform, or what they'll do is they'll still run ads on your videos, and then they'll just keep all the money. Like straight up and down. So all in all, you know, for creators out there, you know, stay away from the smoke. You know, it just doesn't make sense. It's just the internet. It's not that serious. I feel as though you can make money as a creator without talking about people. You know, it's not my favorite thing to do. You know, like I said, you'll never see me do it unless it's something that's engineered, right? Where we're monetizing it outside into a public forum, you know, to run up a big check. And, you know, it should be a learning experience. Like I said, I rock with those guys. I like what they do. Again, because I understand the psychology of YouTube. And, you know, this won't be the last. You know, they're making an example out of them, or trying to, and they may actually get remonetized. But I think what YouTube is doing is sending a warning to a lot of creators that are involved in this kind of behavior. Because like I said, the other side of it is it's spilling into the streets. Whether you have people seeing each other in person, things become violent or whatever. And that's where a lot of this stuff is headed, either into the courtroom or into the streets. And YouTube doesn't want to get involved or feel like they're at fault for somebody losing a lawsuit or somebody losing their life or being hurt in the street. And, you know, that's why they're starting to put a stop to a lot of this stuff. And the way you stop it is you eat at that bank account. Okay, that's gonna get a lot of people to get their act together, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate that it has to come to that for them to get their act together. But me personally, like I said, I'm not gonna go back and forth. I have people all the time that talk shit in videos about me. I'm not gonna go back and forth with them, because like I said, the only way I'm gonna do it is if it's manufactured, where we're gonna make some real money. But going back and forth is not going to really put a real check in anybody's pocket. And that's just real.